I'm John.
And this is Comic-Splaining.
The show where John is in the house!
I mean,
Kind
I'm not
of.
technically in it yet, but I did.
You own the house.
I do. Well, I mean, the bank owns a house, and I'm now
Paying the bank.
paying
but
the bank to
But for
have
all
a
intents
house.
and purposes,
Yes.
you are a homeowner.
You are in
And
the
it-
house.
Well, whenever I move into it,
Spiritually, you are in the house.
I feel like that one episode of Futurama. I am much like Zoidberg, homeowner.
I never watched much
You
Futurama.
never watched Futurama?
I've watched a lot of Futurama. I know the joke.
Yeah. It's gonna be burned down by a cigar-smoking friend. Because the house is underwater, and yet it still burns.
I thought we were talking about your house.
No, in Futurama, Zoidberg
Like,
becomes a homeowner.
Who the fuck do you know that smokes cigars?
I don't know anyone who smokes cigars.
This show is not a recap of Futurama, so I'm not really...
We're pivoting! We're pivoting, guys!
I don't want to hear about what happened in Futurama.
Suddenly, I'm the straight man who has to learn everything about Futurama because everybody has to recap episodes of Futurama to me.
It's been a very long time since I watched Futurama.
I mean, same, but apparently they're making new episodes? I don't know what's up with that.
Well, yeah, because not to sound like I'm 100,000 years old, but all any studio wants to do anymore is revisit old IPs.
Be bisexual, eat hot chip, and lie.
Yeah.
God, I wish they did that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they've been making Futurama since close to the year 2000, and that does not feel right.
Speaking of eating hot chip, what's up with all the products like Carolina Ghost Reaper chicken noodle soup? Who's actually buying this?
Right.
White people?
Who's actually buying this? Like, it's sitting there on the shelves, and then you'll go in the cheese aisle, and there'll be... You can have the option between Ghost Reaper cheese and...
Oh my god. Ghost Reaper cheese.
Yeah.
You've seen Ghost Reaper cheese?
Yes, we saw Ghost Pepper cheese.
Oh no.
We did.
Yeah, there's Carolina Reaper cheese and there's, like, Ghost Pepper cheese.
That's...
And you have your choice between the two of them. I might be getting the names all fucked up.
You can have your choice between two mouth-destroying cheeses.
They also have jalapeno cheese, but that's been around for a while.
Right, and then there's old school pepper jack cheese.
Right.
And, of course, there's always cheddar.
I like cheddar. And then they also have the one that they've had for a very long time that I hate and don't understand who the fuck is buying. Cheese that has taco seasoning on it. Which is an abomination. I don't know. If you're buying that, please tell me so that I can ridicule you mercilessly.
The one where we bully people.
The one where we bully people over cheese.
Yes.
Where we bully our fucking listeners.
Yeah.
All 14 of them.
Hot takes about cheese here. Apparently it's deserved.
Yeah. You know, some people just have bad taste. What can I say?
And you're the one who knows all about taste.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, leave your cheese takes down in the comments below. We want to hear your takes on cheese.
Your takes on hot cheese specifically.
Hot cheese or hot takes on hot cheese or any other cheese takes really.
Yeah.
Leave your cheese takes down below.
Cheese take. Blue cheese is disgusting.
In fact, I would be impressed if you had cold cheese takes.
Cheese takes. Blue cheese has grown on me.
Ooh.
Much like the mold on the blue cheese.
You know
Contention in the household.
Apparently that mold is in danger of going extinct.
Good.
Because it's too tasty. Alright, well, on a sadder note, before we really get going, I want to take a note to acknowledge the passing of one of the artists we've covered on the show again.
Oh, I heard about this.
And Mark Bright, sometimes known as MD Bright or Doc Bright, which I think is kind of cute, you know, like because of his initials.
Yeah.
Well, our thoughts go out to his family. If you want to see some of his work that we covered him back on episode 108 in Classic X-Men 36, but he had a much larger career than that, spanning both Marvel and DC and beyond, because if you recall, he was also the guy who had a career that moved into storyboarding in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Who's the guy who did The Last Airbender?
Mm-hmm.
Woo boy.
Commercials, all kinds of stuff beyond that. But anyway, our thoughts go out to his family. Just wanted to acknowledge that before we moved on ahead. But
now time to make jokes.
now time to make jokes and
now,
be funny.
Jokes are invited back in the room.
Yes. So, speaking of jokes, can you guys tell me what happened with Thor last time?
I can't even tell you what happened last week, to be perfectly honest.
Ripley can.
Yes,
Yay.
I can. Okay, so they went to the wizard room, and in the wizard room, Seth was looking in all of his wizard glasses, and he couldn't find Odin in any of them.
Yep.
So the idea was, okay, so there's one place that none of his wizard glasses can look, and that is Hell. Or it was Valhalla, rather.
Well...
Valhalla.
Yeah, they're saying that Valhalla was in Hell, which it's not, but whatever.
Valhalla.
Yeah.
So Thor was like, okay, I'm gonna ride my fucking horse into Hell, and then the horse fucking died. And when they got there, he was met by Hurricane.
Yeah.
And
Everybody's favorite
Right.
favorite character, Hirokin.
The guy I remembered as Hadouken, yes.
I mean, that's his name. So.
Yes, that has always and forever will be his name.
Because of the way I pronounced it, yeah.
I loved it. It was very fun.
Hirokin. So, nobody wanted to deal with the fact that he was alive, so they decided that they were going to make him dead so he could just, fight for the rest of time with them.
so he could chill in Valhalla.
Yeah, because for some reason, when you're alive in wherever this is supposed to be...
Valhalla.
Sure, let's go with that. Yes, that.
They knocked him out, and then while he was coming back to consciousness, they started fighting some more, and then Hela came down like, what the hell is all this ruckus you are making in my realm? Ha, 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 ha. Oh, that was so funny. She's like, what is all this ruckus you are making in my realm? And he's like, I'm looking for your grandpa.
Well, technically true, yes.
And she's like, he's not fucking here. He's like, that's not true. I saw his silhouette, probably. You know,
in the distance.
He changes hats every 5 minutes, but I swear
this battle, I caught a glimpse of him
it's
silhouetted against the sun.
That he climbed up, and it was like Ragnar the Barbarian or something.
Whatever the fuck.
I forget his goddamn name. It
Doesn't
didn't really matter. And
It
wasn't
some
him.
Guy. It was just some guy.
Yep.
So then he went back down, and
he was like, "Sawies."
Whoops, my bad. I'll leave.
Then he left and he went back, and the next plan was to talk to Mimir again.
Yep, Mimir.
And Mimir was like, sorry, you used up your one free question on this one.
He was like, the first taste is free.
Now you gotta...
Basically.
Now you gotta go get me this Cyclops eye of this dragon.
Uh-huh.
Well, you didn't think knowledge came cheap, did ya?
Now you gotta pay tuition.
So Thor went down to get this Cyclops eye from this dragon that lived in the realm of the trolls or whatever, and they ran into fucking Ulik.
Mm-hmm.
And he was fighting with Ulik, but Ulik threw him down into the fire because never trust a troll.
Yeah, and also
fire definitely kills Thor.
And falling definitely kills Thor. We also read another thing though.
Right, baby Teen Thor was fighting a teen storm giant, and then he fell into quicksand.
Yeah, we had the return of Tales of Asgard about Teen Thor right after he got Mjolnir. But there was also other thing that we read.
Oh, there was also the story of the Warriors 3.
Oh, yeah, and their epic adventures.
The actual fun and interesting thing that we read? Yeah.
Yes, the thing that was good.
Well, not good, but, decent.
They were on an adventure around
comparatively
New York City to go find...
some babes.
Bitches, booze, and, I don't know,
brawls. There you
go. Not below. I
no,
cannot picture...
No. Bitches, booze, and brawls.
Yeah.
I can't picture any of them.
That's not their vice.
And so they hopped in a taxi. They had some trouble finding a taxi, but once they did, they hopped inside a taxi, and instead they found a girl on a ledge threatening to jump off a building.
Uh-huh.
And so Fandral climbed up the building and was like, what's good?
Yeah, basically.
And she was like, my boyfriend had a problem with some loan sharks, so they made him help rob this diamond exchange.
And he's not getting out alive.
And so, yeah, he's either going to die or go to prison. So this is the end of our romance, so this is the end of my life.
Yep.
Girl.
Very fucking dramatic.
Girl.
So Fandral's like, okay, well, how about we don't do anything dramatic and we just help you with that?
Yeah.
But dramatically. Well, we'll help you dramatically, but not the kind of suicidal dramatic you were going for.
Right, so they went to the Diamond Exchange and they beat up all the loan sharks, but her boyfriend wasn't there.
Mm-hmm. They met a homeless guy. The homeless guy they ran around with, and they went to a bar trying to find the boyfriend.
And then they beat up everyone there.
They were going to go to more bars to beat up more people.
Because, eventually you run out of bars, and then you learn what you're looking for.
Right.
But the cabbie and the girlfriend found the boyfriend, who was also looking to end his life at the end of a pier.
Was going to drown himself.
Romeo and Juliet ass couple. So instead, they got married by sword point. The judge was at sword point. They were perfectly happy to get married.
Which makes it a legal marriage! Hooray!
And that was pretty much the end of the story.
Yeah, Fandral paid the cabbie with,
a sack of
gold.
Yeah, that man is retiring.
Oh, yeah. So, that happened. It's not going to have any bearing on anything ever, but it was fun. So
it was fun.
It was.
Yeah, that's essentially where we are. So, we're going to go ahead and start with Thor number 253 from August of 1976, written by Len Wein, penciled by John Buscema, inked by Tony DeZuniga, colored by Maurice Severin, lettered by Condoy.
Condoy?
And the cover's by Jack Kirby.
Just someone named Condoy?
Ripley?
Condoy.
Tell us about Condoy, please.
Alright, I got nothing, man. Condoy.
Who is Condoy?
Okay, well, here's a fun fact about Condoy, because when I got to this issue and I was looking at it and I saw that CMRO has no one credited for the letters. So then I did a little more digging to find who's credited, and it turns out that the person who's credited is, in fact, Condoy. You can see it down there.
Oh, yeah.
So I looked into Condoy because that's the whole credit is Condoy, one word. And I looked into that, and I found absolutely fucking nothing. I have no fucking clue who Condoy is. But he's going to come up several times in Thor. I have no clue.
Do you think it's a name used by someone who doesn't want to be...
It might be a ghost name. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe someone's name when they're working at Marvel, when they work over at their normal name over at DC or something.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't want to be credited. Maybe being credited is bad for them.
Yeah. Maybe it's code for we just passed it off on whoever was in the office.
Maybe it's more than one person.
It could be any number of things, but...
Maybe it's just Condoy, like a single name like Prince.
Cher. Fun fact about Condoy, I don't know who the fuck that is, so...
But this is a new wrinkle in the credits.
Yeah. Oh, Condoy's going to, he's going to happen again.
Oh, no.
So, when we left off last time, Uluk had just thrown Thor into the pit of fire and declared his victory. We pick up right there, with the troll proclaiming that the Thunder God mistakenly showed him mercy, before turning back to the dragon with the ruby eye.
Thor can fly.
He stalks toward it with his mace, prepared to claim his prize. Meanwhile, Thor is falling into the fire for, a second, and then he isn't falling anymore because he can fly.
Yeah.
The Odinson returns just in time to see Uluk slay the dragon and claim its eye. But before he can take his prize, he has to fight Thor again.
Oh, right. Important detail. Uluk claims that his people need him to find the eye.
He's gonna use the eye to save all the trolls, basically.
But he's still a backstabbing asshole.
Yeah, he did do a couple of coups.
A Kulik.
Yeah, a Kulik, there you go. Once again, it's a pretty normal fight for about a page. But then they start wrestling on the bridge over the fire pit, and the force of their clash causes the precarious pathway to crumble.
Shocking.
Yeah, because there was no supports whatsoever. Both combatants scramble for something to hang on to, but Ulik fumbles the rock and drops it into the pit. But no worries, Thor is uniquely equipped to deal with this. Not by flying to grab it, as you may assume is the most logical solution, but by throwing Mjolnir toward the ruby so that the hammer catches it perfectly on its head and delivers it safely to him somehow without dropping it. Don't ask me how that's physically possible.
New power just dropped.
Perfect balance.
Utterly perfect.
You know, this doesn't solve everything, but hey, now Thor has the MacGuffin, and that's good, right?
Sure.
Well, maybe not. Ulik insists that he can't let Thor leave with the ruby because he needs it to save all of Trollkind.
We care about Trollkind?
Thor disputes this claim, specifically citing the fact that trolls have all kinds of weird tech, which apparently means they should be able to handle any problems. Sure, buddy. The point is we finally get an explanation.
Len, the return of blonde hair.
Just like always happens with dwarves, it seems that using those very same machines, the trolls have dug too greedily and too deeply.
Oh no.
They reached an unexplored segment of the underground, which is home to something called Trog.
Trog.
Ulik doesn't explain what Trog is, and it seems like we're just expected to know. So I'm going to assume that it's Trogdor until proven otherwise.
Burninator.
Trogdor is, as we all know, extremely destructive, and so many trolls died before they were able to erect a barrier to defend themselves. Even now, said barrier is on the verge of breaking, and only the Ruby Eye has the power to permanently fend off the Burninator.
Burninated all the people in the thatched roofed cottages.
Yeah, Burninated the countryside. We are old. If you are a Zoomer, first of all, I don't know how you can put up with us, but second of all, look up Trogdor the Burninator, you won't regret it.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't get the reference either.
It's because you're on the older end of the millennial scale. But Thor believes this story. However, he does have a proposal. Rather than giving Ulik the eye, which he needs, he will come with him to fight Trogdor, as he's confident that they can defeat it together. Ulik rejects this idea on principle before swiftly changing his mind. If he can't defeat Thor to get the ruby, then this may be his only option to save his people. So, begrudgingly, Ulik accepts the offer and leads the Odinson back to his king.
You know, I'm so glad that Thor has decided to do this as opposed to, like, the 10 other times that this has happened and he has decided to be a fucking moron about it.
Yeah. I mean, God, it's almost like Odin and the rulers of Asgard are, like, responsible for the denizens of the other realms or something.
Almost.
Almost like that. Gyarados isn't super thrilled to see Thor.
I'm surprised that man still has a job.
Who, Gyarados?
Yeah.
He's king. Ulik tried to do a coup.
And keeps on failing.
Yeah.
He's very bad at it, but I'm surprised with the number of coups.
Well, he keeps failing to do a coup because Gyarados beats him.
That's fair. But I'm still...
We have seen no signs that Gyarados is doing a bad job.
Really, it's amazing that Ulik still has a job.
Yes.
That's also true.
Yes, I think that's the better question. Why is Ulik able to just walk in here?
That's a fair point. How many coups have you done, Ulik?
Like 2 or 3.
Why are you allowed in here and not just killed on sight?
I don't know.
He's just that charming.
Yes, he is just that charming. You are correct. That is the answer.
So, Gyarados isn't thrilled. Some quick explanation settles everyone down. Though Kondoy did fuck up here, and instead of saying, I mean no harm to the Undyne, Thor actually says, I mean to harm to the Undyne, which isn't quite as calming. With that all settled, Ulik leads Thor to the barrier holding Trogdor. And I was imagining more of a force field kind of deal, but no, they literally built a door out of wood? Don't ask me how that works underground. Conveniently, at the very moment they arrive, the beams shatter and the door blows off its hinges, permitting the arrival of Trog, who, sadly, is not Trogdor.
Oh no, this is like the opposite of a Burninator.
I don't know what he is, actually. He's humanoid, but gigantic and weirdly proportioned.
Yeah.
With paper white skin and special word bubbles.
Oh, boy.
He also says something about taking vengeance on those who imprisoned him. Maybe we'll get some backstory there? I don't know. Immediately, Trog takes a swing, which both Ulik and Thor are barely able to dodge. Then he opens his mouth and spits out a beam.
I'm that's the crunchiest beam I've ever seen. I'm not sure that's a beam in the conventional sense.
I don't know. I don't know what else to call it.
And what's that pink aura this
I don't know,
quote-unquote beam has?
I don't fucking know, man.
Is that stink?
I don't know.
Is this a beam with stink? Oh my god.
Stink beam.
Stink beam.
Makes you stinky. Thor takes off to draw the giant's attention while Ulik leaps onto it from behind, pounding Trog's skull with his fists. Trog throws the troll off, but then Thor flies straight up to clock him in the mouth with Mjolnir. The giant falls backward where Ulik prepares to strike the final blow. Unfortunately, he's being a bit of a blowhard, saying that he wants to finish this by himself.
Oh.
Which Thor argues with, and so Trog has enough time to recover.
Of course.
By snatching Ulik up in one of his concerningly large mitts.
Yeah, I don't like how big those are.
I hate everything about him. Once again, Trog says something about being imprisoned in the dark, but I'm becoming skeptical that we will ever get context for that, because we only have a couple more pages to wrap this up before the B story.
That's the problem with having a B story.
Yes. Not that I really think this would benefit from more pages. I think it would just make the fight longer.
I am officially looking up Trog on CMRO to see how many times he shows up.
I would bet once. Ripley, what do you bet?
I bet one more time.
Twice.
Once.
He
has one appearance. This
Shocking.
is it.
The iconic character of Trog. Trog the whatever the fuck he is. Thor distracts Trog long enough for Ulik to grab one of the huge support beams from the door and use it to push the giant back into his dark domain, which might be a cavern or might be literally a portal to another dimension. Len is not only being unclear, but deliberately making it confusing for some reason.
Thor calls it a yawning portal.
Does that look like a portal to you, or does that look like a hole?
That looks like a hole.
Also, when Ulik introduced this to Thor, he said, from a deep cavern or possibly another dimension. And I'm like...
Possibly. So we don't know, you don't know, nobody knows.
It doesn't matter. I don't have any answers, and it doesn't matter. So Trog is almost pushed back into the portal or hole.
Or whatever.
But he's pushing back, and his strength is overwhelming Ulik alone. Rather than just having Thor help him push, which seems logical, the troll insists that Thor must use the ruby eye. The Thunder God rejects this idea because he needs it to save his own people, but Ulik challenges his morals in a way that proves to be incredibly persuasive. Thor yeets the ruby at the wooden beam as Trog attempts to claw his way out of the portal hole, where it instantly and catastrophically explodes.
Huh.
That's not what I expected to happen there. When the smoke clears, both Trog and the hole are gone, meaning that the trolls are safe.
Yay!
Once again, I don't know if there was a portal or if it was just a tunnel that's collapsed. I don't know. And I don't think it's worth the time to figure it out. But the day's saved. Or...
Sure.
Is it? The ruby eye is gone, and with it, Thor's hope of finding his father. Though using it to save the trolls from immediate mortal peril was unquestionably the right move, Ulik immediately starts mocking the God of Thunder for throwing away his world-saving MacGuffin for the sake of his mortal enemy. The rest of the troll warriors peel themselves off the ground to laugh as Thor trudges away.
So Thor should have let them die, I guess. Sure. Yay.
I feel like Len is trying to make this seem like a moral dilemma. Like, he's pretty explicitly asking whether or not it's worthwhile to show mercy to your enemies at the cost of your own people, which isn't inherently a flawed premise, but a philosophical quandary like that needs a lot more room to breathe and a lot more nuance than Thor comics even have at this point.
And who even is Trog?
And I shall remember the lesson I learned here today. Never trust a troll.
Trolls have never been portrayed as anything other than completely selfish and violent, with the exception of Gyarados and his wife that one time. And we don't have any context behind why they're like this, or what their beef with Asgard is, or any of the details of anything. So the trolls making fun of Thor for saving them just feels heavy-handed and dumb. I'd be way more intrigued if they actually were cool about it and used this as a way to start peace talks between their people, right?
It would actually be funnier if they were cheering for him and he was just as sad. Think about it.
Yeah, that would be better.
They're celebrating. They could celebrate this. His enemies celebrating his name and his deeds. And here he is, the most depressed boy in the world.
So, what do you guys rate this one?
2. Not even, like, I can't. This is weak.
2 3/4.
Feeling generous today.
Feeling generous today.
Yeah, I'd give it a 2.
I couldn't justify a full 3, but...
Like...
And comic.
The trolls could still be assholes celebrating him, because... Nah,
2.5.
They would know it would hurt.
Mm-hmm.
They're his enemy. They're going to be his enemy. No matter what he does for them, they're not going to stop being his enemy.
No, this sucks. This sucks. So, time for part 2 of our epic return to Tales of Asgard. This B story was written by David Kraft, penciled and inked by Pablo Marcos, lettered by Irving Watanabe, and colored by Glynis Wein. Things are looking grim for young Thor as he struggles in firm earth up to his waist.
Wow, he really does look young, though.
Yeah.
That's really impressive.
Yeah, I don't think the art in this one is as good as the last one.
Maybe not, but...
They still succeeded in making him look younger, which is great. He's unable to dodge the looming giant, prepared to crush him with his ultimate weakness.
That sure
rocks.
That sure is a pose, though.
Yeah. It's very dynamic, this page.
I like how this giant is just a sexy man. He's just kind of spread out as a sexy man.
Yeah, this page looks really good.
You know what it reminds me of?
Huh.
It reminds me of when we go to, not a reference people go to, no, but when we go to Grand Azteca, those,
oh my god.
the sexy Aztec.
Yeah,
that they have on the tables.
Azteca is a Mexican restaurant chain in our area.
And all the tables have, like, paintings of sexy
Aztec warriors.
Right.
That's a choice.
Scantily clad. They have an aesthetic.
It's a choice.
And that's what this reminds me of.
Yeah. Deprived of his mystical mallet, the giant thinks him helpless. But as we all know, Thor's strength is not confined to any mere weapon, no matter how great it is. As the boulder swings toward him, he meets it with one powerful fist, shattering it and showering the amazed giant in debris. Now free from immediate peril, the God of Thunder recalls Mjolnir and strikes at the ground. The blow frees our young prince, but it also creates a fissure in the surrounding area, sending both of the teenage blowhards tumbling into a subterranean chasm.
Into the hole they go.
Neither of them are done yet, so they get right back to it. Thor catches his opponent and tosses him through the air, a move which confirms his suspicions about the giant's strength. When he boasted, earlier in the last issue, about having power over the earth, he also revealed his weakness. That his strength goes away when his feet are no longer touching the ground.
Huh.
Enraged at his trick being found out, the giant leaps forward with a massive punch. His anger makes him sloppy, though, as his momentum carries him further than he intended, and Thor is able to clock him in the back of the head.
Yeah, Thor still looks like baby.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
I didn't say he doesn't look like baby. I just said the art's not as good.
But they did a really good job in keeping him baby.
Yes.
Which is not something these things usually do with guys.
Yeah. Or anyone.
Yeah.
The giant doesn't look like a teenager, but...
It's the beard.
Yeah. The young giant soaks up more power from the earth as he rises, but a second too late. Thor is already spinning his hammer to create a cyclone. The winds rip at the walls of the ravine, sending boulders tumbling down on both of them. Finally, they stop for a moment to size each other up. Neither is crucially hurt, but both have taken their share of lumps. It's been a good fight, the likes of which neither of them have seen in some time, but it seems like they could keep going like this for days, probably. And so the giant bursts into laughter, with Thor following suit. They shake hands as equals and congratulate each other on their performance, having forged an unlikely bond through combat.
Oh, that's actually great. I like that.
Yeah, that's fun.
It seems that neither of them even remembers why they started fighting, and they both find the whole thing kind of pointless.
Yeah, one dead horse later.
These two idiots were made for each other. They should be BFFs forever. The two lads climb back up to the surface and part as friends, though they jovially issue warnings to each other as their people remain enemies, and the next time they meet will likely not be so amicable. Still, Thor has learned a lesson from this experience. Despite Mjolnir's great power, he still needs to use his own strengths and wits if he wants to be the sort of warrior that his father will be proud of.
That was good.
Yeah,
What would you guys rate that?
3.5.
Yeah, definitely more than just a basic 3. I don't think it's worthy of a 4, but yeah, that was good. Why is that way better than what Lynn's serving us these days? Oh no. Yeah, 3.5.
Yeah, I agree. So, our next issue might be a bit confusing. So I just want to get out ahead of the questions and say that we will not be reading Thor number 254. Because it was actually just a reprint of that issue where we found out that Odin created Donald Blake to teach Thor humility.
So basically, it doesn't exist.
So, yeah, well, I mean, it does.
As a unique new chapter in...
Yeah, so when he found the hammer, he was just turning back into himself, rather than Donald Blake being a person who then becomes Thor. And I tried to find the number for that issue, but I couldn't find it, so I apologize for the lack of citation.
How often do they do reprints like that?
Depends.
Hmm.
The point is, we've read it before, and don't need to read it again. Though I will read the editor's note, explaining why it's a reprint.
Ooh. Spicy.
So, this is from the editor, which I believe is Len. While, since the dreaded deadline doom caught us with the inked pages of this month's Thor Spectacular in transit somewhere between your batty bullpen and the far-off Philippines,
What?
we thought we'd take...
Yeah, because Tony DeZuniga's a Filipino artist.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's a take.
We thought we'd... I think that means he's in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
So they're actually sending them to the Philippines?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So it actually got lost in the mail.
Yeah.
I thought he was just being kind of cringe. No.
Okay. No,
Wow.
it actually got lost on the way to the Philippines.
No.
I assumed he was just being kind of cringe about a
No.
Filipino person. I didn't realize they were actually sending it to the Philippines. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, because it got lost in transit, we thought we'd take this opportunity to fill in those of you who came in late on the awe-inspiring origin of our fabulous Thunder God's earthly alter ego. Enjoy, Pilgrim, and join us back here for all new action next month. So, that's what you got
We're
from...
spinning.
Yeah.
So did they have to redo it?
No. I don't think they lost it. I think it just
Didn't it just
got delayed.
Okay.
Yeah. Was just stuck in the mail.
These things happen. With that said, we're going to move on to Thor number 255. Written by Len Wein, penciled and inked by Tony DeZuniga, who is in the Philippines.
Okay.
Colored by Glynis Wein, lettered by Irving Watanabe, cover art by Jack Kirby and John Verporten. Did I say when this is from? It's from October
Of?
1976. So bad news, everybody. Thor failed.
He did do that, didn't he?
He did do a failure. He's beating himself up pretty bad as he returns to his friends, to the point where he at first tells Sif that it's pointless to explain what happened. Eventually he relents and gives a brief explanation, though it's mostly just to underscore how much he thinks that this is his own personal failing. Thankfully, he's got some good friends, and they all jump over each other to try to make him feel better.
If only some of them had been there during.
If only he had let them go.
Right.
With him. He's still pretty depressed, but he at least feels a bit better with the support, as he orders the Vizier to summon Mimir once again. So, good news, everybody. This was all part of the plan.
What?
It turns out that Mimir didn't actually want the ruby eye for himself. In his infinite wisdom, he sought to test Thor's virtue and see if he was worthy of the task ahead. And Thor passed with flying colors by showing himself to be brave, noble, and selfless, even toward his enemies.
Lame.
Wait, so, the first taste...
I mean, it is cool, but it's also...
So, the first taste isn't free, but the second taste costs a good deed.
I don't think it's really that. I don't think Mimir requires payment. I think it was more just... Mimir was like, this is gonna be hard, so you gotta show me that you can do it, I guess.
Okay.
That's the vibe I get. Because he says, Mimir is not vain, I require no tribute paid me. So it was straight up just a test. Thusly, will the Odinson receive his boon of knowledge. Mimir bids him gaze into the flame, where he sees something called the Doomsday Star.
No relation to the Black Star?
No.
Or the Dark Star.
Or
the Dark Galaxy. Or the Black Galaxy. Or the Black Dark
Nebula.
Death Star Death.
Yeah, none of that.
None of that. No relation to any of those other Doom-coded...
Black, Dark, Death, Doom things.
Coded things, yes.
No. The Doomsday Star. To find Odin, this is where he must look. Thor has no idea what or where this is, but before he can begin to ask questions, Mimir is already gone.
Okay, Mimir, master of the Irish goodbye.
So, that's not great, but it's a hell of a lot more than we had before.
That's true.
Thor swears to complete this quest and find Odin if it's the last thing he does.
You don't have to. Why does Thor look like Nick Cage in that one panel?
Because I don't really like the art in this issue. I don't think that Tony DeZuniga did a very good job.
Yeah, Tony, you made him look like American actor Nick Cage.
That's not the first or only time that
Which is
happens.
Unnerving because...
Maybe it did get lost in the mail and he did have to just turn in the whole issue.
That's entirely possible.
I don't know, man. I don't know. But the good news is, this time he will be taking his friends with him. He was alone when he lost the ruby eye, and though he now knows that was the point, he's still kind of sore about it. So he's taking Sif and the Warriors 3. Baldur offers his own blade, but Thor turns him down, instead charging him with guarding the throne until they return.
Got enough people to write here. Come on.
Yeah.
Does that mean Baldur's in charge, or he's just making sure the place doesn't get invaded there's no leadership?
Is Baldur not in charge? Isn't Baldur in charge this way?
I don't know.
I figure he is.
Unclear.
Unless Seth is in charge.
I mean, why not both, I guess?
Could do worse.
Yeah, they could form a republic.
With well wishes exchanged, the party heads off to board the legally distinct Starjammer.
Oh no!
I still don't know why it's called that, and I don't think we will ever learn. The ship sails across space for an unknown number of days, before suddenly they run straight into a meteor shower.
Wait, how do they know where they're going?
They don't.
Oh, they're just going in a random direction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we'll talk about that later. Trust me. Thor heads to the helm to fend off the rocks while the others work on steering the boat, and somehow they manage to come out the other side mostly intact, apart from a giant hole in the sail.
But this is a spaceship, so it doesn't matter.
Well, apparently it does, because the crew lands on an asteroid to mend the cloth. And when I say asteroid, I feel like that's not a completely accurate word, because this thing is huge. Like, not planet-sized, but pretty absurdly big. This is like the asteroid from every movie where they say it's the size of Texas and it's coming right for us. This is that asteroid.
I hope it doesn't crash into Earth while they're on it.
Where is Steve Buscemi?
Not here, unfortunately. Instead, for some reason, we have Nick Cage playing Thor.
I would love to see that movie. Repairs will have to wait, however, as immediately upon disembarking, the Asgardians find the ruin of an alien ship, which apparently also landed here some time ago. Upon investigating further, they find several roughly man-shaped statues standing nearby.
Oh no, bad sign. Arrows pointing how the panels flow.
Thor declares that these must be monuments to those who died here, which is a bit of a leap. Like, sure, maybe, but why is that your immediate conclusion spoken with utter confidence? Hogan also has questions for his prince, starting with, if everyone on the ship died, because the ship is still here, then who made the statues? I think that's a great question, but Volstagg disagrees, as we once again, as John said, have to follow arrows to tell us how to read this page.
It's always a bad sign.
Yeah.
So, from what's been happening with Thor for the past few issues, I get the feeling that they're not really giving it their full time and attention, and it's kind of a last minute thing. Oh yeah, we gotta do Thor.
Is there some sort of contractual obligation?
I don't know. We may never know, because
Yeah.
the thing is that Thor, there's plenty of people who love Thor, but he was never one of their big top selling titles. So even if you look up the creators, you're not going to find any interviews where anyone asks them anything about Thor.
That makes sense. No one's going to be asking Lin Lean about his time at Thor.
Yeah, so there's no information that I can find about any of this. So we just got to deal with it.
So unless we want to... Is Lin still alive?
No.
I didn't think so. So we're going to have to, dig up his body and revive him.
Master necromancy.
Yes. We're going to have to make a new interview.
Raise him from the dead and say, hey...
Hey, now that I have you, I was curious about your time with Thor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I...
Could you tell me why it was so bad?
Yes! Yes, that's why I brought you back from the dead.
Regardless...
Oh, God!
Oh, thank God. Regardless of what actually happened here, the fact of the matter is that this place is deserted and of no help. They must repair the Starjammer and return to aimlessly wandering until they find a place that they have no directions to.
Great!
Woohoo! With their curiosity sated, the Asgardians turn away to do just that. Behind them, no one notices one of the statues begin to move, shaking off the layers of dust and debris kicking its body to reveal that it is actually a very alive Cronin, otherwise known as the Stone Men from Saturn.
Oh my God, these are from 1 billion years ago.
These are from the very first Thor.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I like that one has a butt crack.
Mm.
Yeah, these are also what Korg is, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The one awakened Cronin uses his blaster to free and wake up the rest of the crew. I don't know why
that's
his
what he's
blaster does
doing.
that, but that's what it does.
I thought he was killing one.
No. And moments later, the 6 of them crouched to observe the unsuspecting party. Finally, it seems their prayers have been answered. The gods have provided them a way to escape this space rock at long last. I find it ironic that they're praising presumably Cronin gods for this without knowing that the Asgardians are gods. That's just something that I enjoy about Asgardians interacting with aliens. The aliens have their own gods. The Cronins march straight down to their victims. I guess these guys don't have much experience in Grand Theft Longship. But when you're a giant stone man, you probably don't expect much opposition from randos.
No, these are just like fleshy meat bags. What possible harm could they be to the Rockmen?
They start talking to Thor, and yes, somehow these are the exact same Cronins from Thor's debut in Journey into Mystery number 83.
Okay.
Despite this, and the fact that they failed to take over Earth because Thor made them piss their lack of pants, they proceed to demand that he give them the ship or face consequences.
What consequences?
I mean, they think they're gonna kill him, I guess.
I guess they forgot who he was?
No, they know. They identify him by name.
Oh.
They know who he is.
And they know that he can beat them up.
Yes.
But they're gonna try it again.
They're trying anyway. Well, they don't have any other options, is the thing. I feel like they could ask nicely, and Thor would be like, sure, whatever. But, they're like warriors, and they tried to conquer Earth.
Right,
so
I'm gonna say,
would
Thor be like, cool, yeah, whatever, because...
I think so.
I think he would at least be willing to take them somewhere else. He might take them to, a prison planet or something, but he would get them off the rock.
Okay.
Yeah, that seems right to me.
Sounds Thor-like, I think. But no, they're making demands. The God of Thunder doesn't cotton to that, so he takes out his hammer and swings directly for the face as one of the stone men draws his blaster. He tackles the lot of them without hesitation because he already beat their asses once before and he's not letting them get in the way of his quest.
Oh yeah, he could do this. He could solo them and he doesn't have to.
One of the Cronins taunts Thor about fighting them alone because he can't count, I guess. The Warriors 3 are, in fact, already in the thick of it, or at least 2 of them are, and we can't see Volstagg yet. As Thor is engaged with one of the stone men, another takes aim at his back, but Sif plays interference by knocking the gun out of his hand. Okay, so that's 4 Asgardians accounted for. Thor declares they have even numbers because he also can't count. The 5th Cronin charges in to dispute that claim, but Volstagg literally jumps on top of him from...
somewhere.
I don't know. Maybe he climbed the mast? Whatever. It's 5v5 now.
Maybe he can just jump really high.
That would be fun, if that's his god power.
It makes a lot of sense considering he does this all the time. He's constantly doing, the bunker buster.
Constantly
checking.
He is doing that, isn't he?
Maybe he just jumps really well.
Maybe.
He has the hops.
That's his god power.
He also has a sword, it looks like.
He does have a sword.
8-foot vertical leap.
Yeah, so it's 5v5, but I'm pretty sure there were 6 Cronins a few pages ago. Don't worry, Len and Tony can count. Seeing the odds are stacked pretty high against them, the 6th Cronin flees back to their ship. He can't stand the idea of Thor beating them a second time, as he thinks about how, upon fleeing Earth, their engines malfunctioned somehow, and they became stranded after making an emergency landing on this asteroid. I fail to see how that is actually Thor's fault. All he did was chase you off like a bunch of whiny sissy babies, and he didn't damage your ship at all.
That's a maintenance issue?
Yeah, I bet they were flying around for like a year with tape over the check engine light. Anyway, their radio was damaged somehow, and so they placed themselves in suspended animation by turning into statues.
So how many actual years ago was
know.
that in real... Not okay.
IRL years?
Yeah.
Oh. A lot?
That's what I thought. It's been a long time in the real world.
10-ish years, like a decade.
That's a while.
So yeah, their suspended animation turned them into statues, I guess, to wait for some randos to wander by so they could steal their ship.
And the randos happen to be Thor again.
Yeah, by some twist of fate, they now have an opportunity to defeat their greatest enemy, as well as escape. With the ship now inoperable, the 6th Cronin doesn't hesitate to scavenge what he can. He rips out the Gravitron, which he says is the means of powering the ship, but it's also conveniently gun-shaped.
It is very much a gun.
I thought they had an engine failure, but I guess this part wasn't the part that failed. So...
However their engine works.
I don't know. The 6th Cronin, who Fandral identifies as the leader, though I have no idea how he determines that, runs back out to where his buddies are getting their asses handed to them on a silver platter. He activates the Gravitron, which, as the name may suggest, alters gravity. Don't ask how it does that, it just does.
What if I said 3 or 4 years?
3 or 4 years in universe?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Sorry, I've been doing math this whole time.
You've been
sliding timescale.
You've been converting from IRL years to sliding timescale years.
Sliding timescale is so dumb. But there's no better solution yet, so that's what we got. This invention allowed the people of Saturn to take to the stars by nullifying gravity, but it can also increase the pull of gravity, effectively magnifying the Asgardians' weight so much that they fall through the ground. As I was preparing for this issue, I did a bit of research because I was like, oh, that might be clever and make sense if Saturn is one of those planets that has higher gravity than Earth, but it would make sense if the natives of the planet were made of stone to resist the gravity and they invented this gravity gun for space travel, but I looked it up and Saturn has almost the exact same gravity as Earth. It's a little teeny tiny bit higher. It's like 1.8.
Oh.
Also, Saturn is a gas giant, so it doesn't even have a surface that we know of. I have no idea how much we knew about Saturn in 1976.
A decent amount.
Is this an honest mistake based on incorrect information, or is Len just talking out of his ass?
I'm going with that second one.
Yeah, I'd be willing to believe it.
It's a big planet, so it must have really heavy gravity, right? We're going with that.
Yeah,
but
sure.
is some of this inherited from...
Stan. True.
Mm.
Could be. I guess in the Marvel universe, Saturn has heavy gravity. You know what? I do remember, actually, from that issue where Thor appeared, that the Cronins did say because of the heavy gravity on our home planet.
Oh, no.
But I didn't register at the time that they were actually from Saturn, or I would have checked on that. But no, that is a relic of Stan. You are so right.
I'm so good at this.
So I guess in the Marvel Universe, canonically, Saturn has very heavy gravity.
Sure. Stan said it, so it's true.
Whatever. The Asgardians fall down and struggle against their own weight as they immediately begin to sink into the ground.
Well, that's one way to make quicksand, I guess.
Through a monumental show of strength and perseverance, Thor struggles against the effects of the gravitron. He rises to his feet with a snarl and hurls Mjolnir with such force that it crushes the device to bits, blasting inside the Cronin leader, who cries out in disbelief. Good effort, I guess. The party recovers immediately, but the Stone Men have also had time to regroup, and now prepare for a renewed assault. But as it so happens, randomly ripping out key components of your spaceship engine might be a bad idea. A sparking wire left behind by the removal of the gravitron hits something, and the asteroid is rocked by an explosion. Thor wastes no time ordering his friends retreat to the Starjammer. I guess they had time to fix the sail while the Rock Boys were waking up. But the Cronins are right behind them, driven to desperation to escape this barren rock.
Well, I guess we're going to leave them with even less.
Thor orders the others to take off without him while he holds the Stone Men at bay. Hogan asks how he will escape because he forgot that Thor can fly.
Yeah.
And breathe in space.
The Cronins don't even really do anything to stop either the ship or Thor from taking off. They just kind of whine about it. And I guess the explosion from the ship started some kind of chain reaction that then explodes the whole asteroid.
Well,
I'm really not clear on how that happens.
That makes no sense to me, but hey.
Like, did the first explosion destroy something that created a bigger explosion, or was there some kind of mineral in the asteroid that exploded? I don't know.
And it will never be explained.
It will not. It's exploded. The shockwave pushes the Starjammer out to open space, and for a tense moment, nobody can see Thor. But then he climbs up over the rigging and is fine, which is more than can be said for the Cronins, who he left to die.
Wow, cold-blooded.
All in all, this could have gone a lot worse. They fixed up their ship, and everyone escaped, except for the Cronins. But Thor finds this experience to be an ill omen for their journey yet to come. And yes, he does say that they still have no idea where they're going. I do not understand why they didn't bother to ask anyone else where this Doomsday Star is.
Right, we couldn't ask Mimir that.
Or
No, he disappeared before they could ask questions. But Seth was right there.
We couldn't get him back on the line?
I guess not.
Or I don't know, maybe head to Earth and ask anyone there. Someone there might know.
But you don't even have to go that far. Seth was in the room. They could talk to the Vizier. Or they could go outside and talk to Heimdall.
Fair!
Right, because we still haven't talked to Heimdall. I was asking the other day, right after we recorded this, like, hey, we haven't asked Heimdall where Odin is.
No one has asked Heimdall. We have not asked Heimdall, even though Thor uses Heimdall's eyes as an expletive. And
we
he did that
never
in this
asked
issue.
Heimdall shit.
Yeah.
We've forgotten what Did he ever ask Heimdall anything before?
Yes.
So he has done that. And
Yes.
This is a thing the comic has forgotten.
No, they haven't. Because Thor says Heimdall's eyes. So they know there is something special about Heimdall's eyes at the very fucking least.
Yeah, but they may not know more than that.
I think Len knows. And he's just being dumb. Anyway, I'm just annoyed that they didn't do anything about this when they had so many options. And Len Wein is ruining my life. What would you guys rate this?
2.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I guess I've lost my niceness.
Well, yeah, that's because that one B story was actually kind of fun.
It was decent.
And it was kind of nice at the end how they were friends.
Uh-huh. It made sense.
And it didn't have kind of ugly art.
So we were all at a 2 here?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's all I got for this week. Wasn't it super duper fun and exciting?
It was super duper fun and exciting.
It sure was something.
Thanks, I did my best.
Alright, well, while we've got you here in the middle, let's run through our stuff. Don't forget to hit all the buttons, like, subscribe, hit the bell button, and comment down below. Give us all your cheese takes, hot, cold, or mid.
If you have mid
Lukewarm.
cheesesteaks, I will be
Lukewarm
impressed.
cheesesteaks.
Room temperature cheesesteaks.
Ooh, dangerous stuff.
Oh shit, we're on to page 7 on CMRO.
Out of?
49. I know that's way less than you have.
That's okay. I always skip a lot of the crap on mine.
We may actually one day finish all of those pages.
On mine, yeah.
Yes. On one of them.
Don't forget to hit up our socials. We are on Tumblr, Jeter, Facebook, Blue Sky, Instagram.
You just started laughing at your own joke.
Jeter gets me every time.
Jeter.
If you want to talk to us, hit us up over on Discord. We include a link every week in the description. If you want to throw us a few bucks, we're over on Coffee. Other than that, on with the show.
Woo!
Okay, moving on from that, do you guys want to tell me what happened last time on X-Men?
I hear crickets in my ears.
I got it. A bunch of shit happened. So in the first issue that we read, let's see. First of all, Carol was getting some readings done because she was sparring with the Starjammers, and what's-his-fuck was like taking readings from her, and they're like, well, you don't have your powers, but you're not like a normal human. And she's like, I feel normal. And they're like, I don't know.
Dr. Corbeau.
Yeah, that guy.
Oh.
And then everybody went to go see Charles. He's in a coma. He's not doing very good. And they had Oracle from the Guardsmen psychically connect with him, and it didn't go very well.
Yeah, they tried to figure out what was wrong with him, and bad.
Yeah, it was bad.
All we know, it's bad.
It's bad, bro. And then they got distracted because Bitch Supreme was on TV.
Kelly.
Yeah.
Senator Kelly.
Senator Kelly was on TV. Being a bigot, as usual.
Nothing new there.
And basically because of what he said on TV, they decided that they had to break into the Pentagon.
As you do.
To get their information out of, like, the government servers.
And they broke into the least regularly pentagonal structure you could ever break into.
Yeah, it was not
the
great.
shittiest
Yeah,
Pentagon.
They broke into the Pentagon we have at home.
So, Wolverine, Carol, and Storm went in together. Kurt stayed in the car.
Yep.
They went in together, and they managed to get in, and it was cool. But then they randomly saw Rogue just drinking from a fucking water fountain.
Oh yeah, didn't Logan just say, didn't he have like a card that just
Yeah, he had a medical card for his metal skeleton.
for his implants, quote unquote.
Well, his prosthetics.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it makes sense. It makes a certain amount of sense.
Though it's fun that Canadian Army can just walk in to the Pentagon.
Yeah.
They're friendly.
Right. They're allies. It's fine.
It's fine. There's nothing.
And he was also with Carol, who was in uniform.
He's here for a meeting.
So they stumbled on Rogue, who was just there. And she was wearing a cute outfit.
She still had the bad hairstyle.
But of course, when they recognized each other, Carol and Rogue immediately recognized each other and immediately started throwing down. And it didn't really go super well because Rogue is kind of OP.
She still has those powers.
Yeah, she has Carol's powers, and also she can still steal anyone else's powers on top of that. So, didn't go very well for the X-Men. Logan got downed briefly, and then Storm Bridal carried him away.
Yep.
What does he have to weigh?
We talked about this last time. And then Carol opened fire in the middle of the Pentagon, but nobody cared.
Must be Tuesday.
So she went on to the server room while Logan and Storm and Nightcrawler dealt with Rogue. But she didn't know that Mystique was also there. And Mystique turned into Nick Fury and shot her in the head. Except missed, kind of. And Carol was fine. And then she basically choked Mystique out. And had her arrested. And then she was able to wipe the servers. Storm and Wolverine and Nightcrawler were able to at least chase Rogue off, I think.
Yeah, Storm flew her away on the Cyclone.
Oh, yeah.
She flew her out of there.
That's a trick that Thor does a lot.
Wasn't there like a FBI or police barricade or something?
Yes, so when Carol went to leave, the entire place was surrounded by, like, tanks and shit. They just let her walk out, and then everyone else was already chilling in the car.
Yeah, no one bothered to check this mysterious van.
It wasn't a van.
It was it the Rolls?
I don't know what it was.
I don't remember. It was
just
remember
a car. It was a car.
Sure, but no one bothered to check
the parking lot.
The parking lot, or
they were just chilling there with the AC on.
Yeah.
Nobody checked the parking lot, and they just let Carol leave. I mean, presumably she went through some kind of security on her way out, but still.
But anyone
she
can
didn't
leave.
have anything. What'd she have to show?
Sure.
She didn't have a gun. She couldn't have been the shooter.
Yeah, she just took that gun from the MP.
Took it from a guy who was standing nearby. So they can't trace the bullets to her. Sucks for that dude, though.
Yeah, that does, doesn't it? That man is never working in this town again.
So the mission was a success, and Carol also wiped out her own information from the server so she can have a fresh start, which is great. Good for her. I'm so happy for her. The second issue we read, Dracula was there.
Oh, yeah, he was.
So they all went to go hang out with Misty Knight because Misty told them that they could hang out at her apartment.
But she wasn't even there.
But she wasn't there. Her roommate was, and her roommate was like, all right, fine.
Her roommate was weirdly chill.
Yeah, her roommate Harmony was pretty cool.
Yes, so they were kicking it at Misty Knight's, but then Storm escorted Kitty to go visit her parents and didn't come back. And she was found, like, in an alley bleeding out, and she took to the hospital. So basically it turned out that Dracula had decided that he wanted Storm to be, like, his vampire wife.
And we had a whole adventure with Storm being mysterious.
Well, she was having, like, a mysterious illness.
Mm-hmm.
That was vampirism.
Yeah.
Early onset vampirism, you know, the early stages. Kitty was the only one who figured that out because she's a teenager.
Read too many supernatural romance novels.
Yep.
Vampire romances have been in every era.
And Storm ended up going along with Dracula until her friends came to rescue her, and then Dracula was like, I'm gonna kill these guys. And Storm was like, nah. So she fought him, she broke out of his control, and she was like, no, I will not be your wife. And he's like...
Aw, man, that's exactly why I wanted you to be my wife.
He's like... Shucks. And then he left. And Storm was fine. And then in the third issue, they went back to Eldritch Isle, and Storm did not sleep. They immediately went to go practice. But while they were practicing, Ilyana ran off because she was lured away by a mysterious voice, and Kitty followed her and got stuck in, like, a teleportation beam.
And then we had fun with portals.
Yeah. And basically, they got stuck in some magical demon bullshit in Limbo because this demon, whatever the fuck his name was, Belasco, that's his name.
Right.
He wanted to give Ilyana magic powers so that she could fulfill some grand destiny, presumably taking over Earth, I would assume. So they all went to go rescue her, but because Limbo's weird, it turned out that they had already been there and died, but now they were there.
Except for Aurora.
Except for Aurora.
Was not dead and was an older badass.
Yeah, Aurora was the only survivor, and she stayed in Limbo and learned magic. So
Kurt survived too, but he was also corrupted and evil.
Yeah, Kurt survived, but he became crazy because his friends died.
Don't believe that.
But it happened.
I know, but I don't believe he'd become generically crazy.
Why?
He didn't become generically crazy, he became generically evil.
Yeah, he
Okay,
did.
okay.
He got turned evil.
He got turned evil. I don't believe he would be able to be, but...
I think a case could be made. But regardless, the point is, the fact of the matter is that did happen. So, Kurt was also there, but he didn't matter, so whatever.
yeah, other Kurt did kind of beat himself up.
Yeah. So, older Aurora, she stayed there to basically get in touch with the past, future X-Men. I'm really confused about the timeline there.
Welcome to Limbo, I guess. And she did that, and then they were able to find Ilyana, and they rescued Kitty, and everybody got out alive, but just when they were teleporting away, Belasco pulled Ilyana out of the circle, and they only barely managed to pull her out, but when they pulled her out, she was a teenager. Not a little baby anymore. And now she's like a teen, and Colossus is like, this sucks, bro. What am I going to tell our parents?
Yeah, what am I going to tell her parents? And Ilyana's like, Piotr, I miss you so much. And then she has like an evil magic locket, so.
Yep, and several of the bloodstones in her locket
are
filled.
She's already on the path to her destiny.
Yep, and once all of them are filled, she'll have fulfilled Belasco's destiny.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. Alright, well, that's pretty much what happened, yep.
Mm-hmm.
First up is Uncanny X-Men 161 from June of 1982.
You know, I love this cover except for the way Professor X looks. His face looks too short.
Yeah, a little bit.
Written by Chris Claremont, penciled by Dave Cockrum, inked by Bob Wysek, colored by Glynis Ween, and lettered by Tom Orzechowski, with a cover by Dave Cockrum and Bob Wysek.
Yeah.
A content warning going into this one for discussions of the Holocaust and Nazis.
Oh boy.
If you're not up for that, use the time code below to skip to the next segment. Though you may want to dip in for the last minute or so of this one, or you might be a little bit confused.
Oh boy, that's
Charles Xavier lies locked in a nightmare as he has been for the last while, unable to free himself from the alien consciousness imposing itself on his own. Charles's students stand gathered around his bed, watching the telepath as he wordlessly stares at the ceiling. His mental battle has been slowly draining his physical reserves, and if this is allowed to continue for too much longer, the man will die. Moira explains everything they've already tried to Scott, but he won't hear it, angrily storming away once she starts in with, "But there's always hope." Right after talking about how Chucko tried to unalive himself. Kitty doesn't understand Scott's sudden fury, but Logan gets it all too well. It's the helplessness, especially with the fact that he's so buttoned down and likes to keep his feelings stashed away. It's all just coming out as anger. Chris wants to go talk to his son about it, but Aurora convinces him that she's the right one to have this talk, and so she follows Scott away from the group. When she finally catches up with him, Scott's leaning against the railing, admiring the sunset. Storm has to admit that in some ways this does have its benefits over their home back in Westchester County. To which Scott snipes that thanks to her they might be here a while, as they're definitely taking the heat for that fiasco at the Pentagon. He pulls out a copy of the Daily Bugle with the story splashed all over the headlines. Kelly's pushing for an investigation, and Jameson is weighing in. It's a whole thing. He chews her out for the reputational damage they've taken, saying he should have been consulted. Storm argues back that he's not in charge of the X-Men. And he argues that maybe he should take his old job back.
If he wants to be in charge, then he should...
Is anyone offering, though? Chucko is in a coma.
Frustrated, she storms off, but Scott calls after her to wait, and she pauses for at least a moment. A chagrined Scott apologizes for his behavior, acknowledging that the words came mostly from a place of frustration. He can't do anything to help the professor, and it's not fair that it's happening to him in the first place when all he's ever tried to do in the world is make things better. Aurora counters that nothing in their lives is fair. Is it fair that she lost her parents as a girl? Is it fair that Ilyana lost her childhood? No, life isn't fair. But Scott is hurting here because he has to acknowledge that Charles is in all practical manners his father, and he's just watching him die like this. It's awakening a lot of old trauma from his past in the orphanage.
Oh boy.
Every time he got close to others, they'd be ripped away from him, and it feels like he's just watching it happen all over again. Aurora, though, reminds him that he's never alone, and when he asks for help, that's all she needed to hear from him. Back at Chuck's bedside, a tearful Lilandra leans over her bow, crying onto his face as she leans in for what she believes will be one last embrace. Will it end like this for them? She hopes not, as she begs now for him to fight, hoping that her thoughts somehow reach him, no matter how impassive he seems to remain. But he doesn't react. His thoughts dwell in the realm of memory, some 20 years earlier in the Israeli city of Haifa, where his friend Daniel Shamron picks him up at the seaport, hot off his trip to Cairo. Daniel is a psychiatrist working with Holocaust survivors, and he's having particular trouble with one of his patients that he could use Charles's professional help with.
Oh boy.
Yikes.
I see where this is going.
Yeah.
When they arrive at the hospital, he introduces him to one of the volunteers there, Magnus, a Holocaust survivor himself, like many of the volunteers here, with formidable mental defenses that lead Charles to suspect that the man may be a mutant. The trio then move along to introduce Charles to their problem patient, Gabrielle Haller, a young woman diagnosed with catatonic schizophrenia, which I'm not going to come right out and say isn't something we diagnose today because I don't know that for sure, but I know that what we call different diagnoses has changed through the years. Mm-hmm. She definitely seems catatonic in the casual way of speaking, but in all of her time here, she's shown no sign of improvement. Agreeing to at least try, Charles sits opposite the young woman and stares into her eyes, delving into her mind, where he encounters a wall. After a moment to observe the wall, monsters begin to crawl from it, coming to attack Charles. Even though dying in the dream means you die in real life, Charles couldn't be more psyched.
And he's naked.
Oh yeah, he's in the psychic realm.
Yeah, in the psychic realm he's gotta be dick and balls out.
Yes, there's no clothes in the psychic realm.
Not unless you manifest them.
Yeah, unless you do that specifically.
And he's not going to do that.
So he's choosing to be naked.
His true self is naked.
And golden.
And he couldn't be more psyched, because this means...
He couldn't be more psyched. Fucking fully presenting.
He couldn't be more psyched, because this means Gabrielle's mind is still functional. Charles wonders if he has the right to make Gabby face the world, but he doesn't wrangle with that question long before coming to the answer that of course he does. And so he pays little mind to the monsters, instead focusing the force of his attack on the wall until it finally begins to crack and then crumbles. Gabrielle Haller, 10 years old on a cattle car to Dachau.
Oh no.
Her grandmother dies before they even make it there, pinned in place by her side, unable to even fall to the ground. So many more are sent to the gas chambers, but not Gabrielle due to her beauty. The guards keep her alive. She wishes they hadn't. She longs for death, but can't make it happen herself. But in the waning days of the war, the young woman is brought before the camp commandant, who casts a spell upon her and turns her to gold.
Ugh.
Seems like a bit of a diversion at the end there.
The Nazis are represented here as literal monsters, which, I get, because that's how they're represented in her mind, right?
Yes, exactly.
Makes it easier in some ways.
The diversion at the end isn't what matters, because Charles has finally reached through to Gabrielle, and she cries into his shoulder before the amazed eyes of Magnus and Dr. Shamron. They then put her to bed before retiring to Shamron's office to discuss Gabrielle's past. It seems she voiced the things that we saw aloud, though much more metaphorically. So, like you said, the Nazis as monsters, likening things like the crematoriums to the gates of hell. No one can really make heads or tails of the golden statue thing, though. Their toast to their success is witnessed by a secret Nazi listening in through the window.
Oh, great.
Yikes!
Yeah, I don't know. But he is excited to learn that Haller is conscious, and Sieg hiles off to go hit up the leader with the exciting news.
Great.
Oh, fun!
Meanwhile, Charles, Gabrielle, and Magnus have been traveling all over the country, taking in the sights Israel has to offer, and look, I don't really want to get into it, but it's kind of going to hang over this episode like a stinky fart. Shit in Israel's kind of fucked.
Yeah.
It's kind of been fucked for a long time, and I think that's fair to say.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kind of a landmine to talk about, because people like to let the freak flag fly in all kinds of anti-Semitic ways anytime you kind of say anything anti-Zionist, but that shit's outright genocidal right now. So, sitting here talking about the lighthearted vacation throughout Israel is kind of a hard time here.
Yeah.
Well.
But anyway,
Yeah.
they're on their lighthearted vacation throughout Israel.
Perfect. Great.
As if it wasn't problematic then.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's,
totally fine.
that's all I'm going to say about that right now. Anyway, as they journey, Charles and Magnus get to talking about Chuck's ideas on mutation, and he's actually intrigued to find that Magnus believes him. But he doesn't believe that mutants could remain safe in the same world as humans without ruling them.
You know, when I called them two old liberals...
You were completely correct. Also, I just find it strange that this girl, immediately after waking up from a coma, decides that she's going to go on vacation with two dudes that she's never met.
Right?
That just seems like a bad idea to me.
It seems like there should be some recovery time needed, right?
Yes, exactly.
Apparently, this is the recovery?
I don't know about that one.
I don't know about that, Haas.
Yeah, well, I think that's what this is supposed to be telling us.
The disagreement lingers on in Charles's mind late into the night, where he and Gabrielle are on their way either back from or to something in evening dress. Gabrielle thinks she's in love. Charles doesn't quite think she is, but he thinks she needs love, and blah, blah, blah.
Ugh.
Is he ever a condescending tool to excuse away the fact that he kisses the girl, or at least kisses her back? Part of him feels he shouldn't, you fucking think?
There's a reason doctors aren't supposed to date their patients.
I'm pretty sure she's in love with you because, first of all, you're probably the first person she's talked to in a very long time. And second of all, because you literally invaded her mind.
And, in a sense, saved her?
Right, rescued her.
This is so nasty. But of course, he's a narcissist, so he would think it's fine. He's like, oh, that's what she wants, cool. I'm doing her a favor.
I should not do this, but if it makes us both happy and brings us the solace we seek, what then is the harm?
Gee, I wonder what could be the harm.
He looked at her and said, wood.
The Nazis agree.
Oh my god.
Oh, no!
Holy shit.
No, not that!
The Nazis lob a grenade at them. We know it's bad when the Nazis think you have a shocking lack of professional ethics.
Oh, no!
Wow. Why are the Nazis in bug costumes?
Well, they're Hydra. I don't know why Hydra are in bug costumes at this point in time either, but...
Okay.
Non-chronological Nazi Hydra people?
Maybe they did that at this point in time.
I guess. They were just wearing bug costumes. Whatever.
Well,
Maybe it's this particular, sect of Hydra.
Maybe.
They're just, the bug group.
They're really into bugs. And,
yeah. The other Hydra guys are like, yeah, I don't know what's going on with them.
And also,
really.
the other Hydra guys don't tend to be trying to do the thing the Nazis were trying to.
They're trying to make this a thing, and it's not a thing.
Yeah.
See, these are constitutional originalist Hydra. They believe in what the Third Reich stood for, not what New Hydra believes.
They're here for Holler. I don't know where all these Israeli troops came from, but the Nazis are immediately engaged in combat with them, leaving Charles and Gabby pinned down hiding behind a jeep in the middle of the fray. Charles is just about to burst out his psi powers to help when he gets grazed in the dome by a bullet and goes down.
Uh-huh.
Though Gabby struggles against them, they manage to wrangle her into one of the tilt-wing craft they came in, the rest of them piling into the other. But before it fully gets off the ground, suddenly it's torn to pieces, every man inside it slain, while everyone in the courtyard survives without a single further scratch. All this just as Charles is starting to come to, and he has to feel all their lives snuffed out.
Oof. Well, they're Nazis.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it still sucks to feel.
Well,
if
yeah,
you're
sure.
Chuck.
Yeah, but hey, Charles, Get better shields.
He sees then, glowing on the roof, Magnus. Glowing just like the tilt plane before it exploded. Something fishy's going on. Magnus is completely unrepentant when he returns to the ground, but honestly, I don't think Chuck is all that bent out of shape. He was just talking about how it was their richly deserved fate just a couple panels back.
Oh, wow. He's only upset that they were slaughtered.
Yeah, he just hates the indiscriminate killing.
He recovered from that head wound very quickly.
Why isn't he bleeding?
Well, maybe it wasn't completely indiscriminate. One got away. Thing is, he's not talking, so maybe Chuck better get an eye on the situation. The guy insists he doesn't speak English, but that's fine because Chuck speaks German. Identifying the shocked man by name and rank, not only in the SS but in Hydra Bruderschaft as well. A convoy of Hydra half-tracks and trucks park near Kenya's Lake Rudolph. As we can tell by looking at the sky, it's nearly dusk.
Oh, man.
Oh, comics.
When one of the Hydra troopers comes skidding out trailing speed lines as he shouts in excitement that they found it. Baron von Strucker is glad to hear it, but chastises the young man for shouting the good news to anyone who would hear it. Still, he'll overlook it this time. Gabrielle, under torture, was the one who told them how to get what they sought, and so they're going to drag her along to witness their moment of triumph. Meanwhile, at the edge of the gathering, a disguised Charles nearly loses his shit, recognizing Strucker and the things he did to get the information out of Gabrielle. He wants to go get his ass now, but Magnus bids him to wait for the right moment, and so the two follow the Hydra entourage into the cave Gabby laid out. Strucker then explains to all the Nazis, like he has presumably done several times throughout their plan, that they're here looking for Der Führer's personal gold reserves, spirited out of Germany at the end of the war.
So not in, like, Venezuela or somewhere.
Nope, Kenya. Since the whole Third Reich thing wasn't working out so well, they thought they'd at least stash away a rainy day fund for a fourth somewhere down the line. And Hydra intended to be that Fourth Reich. For some reason they decided to use Gabrielle as a map, but doing so instead drove her mad, right up until, unlike all the king's horses and all the king's men, Charles Xavier was able to put Gabrielle Haller back together again. And now only a wall separates Baron Strucker from the wealth he needs to kickstart his reign of terror upon the world. Meanwhile, Chuck and Mags have a basic plan. They're going to wait until Strucker breaches the wall and take Haller in the ensuing destruction and go. After a blast of dynamite, the shining bars of gold are surprisingly undisturbed. The Nazis are indeed distracted by their spoils. That part of the plan goes perfectly. Gabrielle is the piece of the plan that doesn't cooperate, panicking when she sees them unmasked rather than understanding that they're here to rescue her. Magnus bids him to use his psi powers to shut her up, which definitely throws Chuck for a loop, but he doesn't have a chance to do so before the commotion draws the attention to the rest of the Nazis, and the bunch are suddenly under fire.
Yeah, because Mags and Chuck are in disguise. Did we mention that?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
It seems Magnus was a lot quicker on the uptake than Charles. It's only now, though, when Mags straight up tells him that bullets aren't a problem for him, that he gets that they're both mutants.
No shit.
Then again, I'm pretty sure Magnus might have just understood when Chuck told the German guy he read minds.
Yeah.
You know, that tracks.
But anyway, Charles grabs Gabby round the middle, dashing off with her to safety, making them both invisible in all the Hydra goons' minds. But this isn't going to get them away. They need something better than that. And so he dives into the minds of the men, finding their little grievances and fanning them into a roaring inferno of punching.
Amazing.
To the extent that none of the Nazis are paying any attention to the trio anymore, too busy punching one another.
Nazi infighting. You're not the right kind of Nazi.
Believe it or not, this
you're
is normal.
Polish.
This is actually quite normal for them.
Well, yeah. Of course it is.
It probably did not take much effort because this is just what they were like.
But in the meantime, Gabrielle's episode is only worsened, deepening into another catatonic shock.
Ugh.
Magnus suggests Charles uses his powers again, but Chuck bristles at the suggestion, concerned that Gabrielle will become dependent on him, even when he's no longer there. And so he calls for her, urging her to fight, to come back from the brink. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the din, threatening their lives. It's Strucker, wearing a glowing red gauntlet he calls the Satan's Claw. A, quote, fruit of Teutonic genius. He pulverizes a boulder right above them, somehow injuring Charles. Magnus, you're in. He tags himself in to crumple the stupid thing around Strucker's hand.
Well, yeah.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Leaving the Nazi screaming in pain before yeeting him off by the injured hand with some sick trash talk that had his powers manifested earlier, he'd have wiped the Third Reich off the fucking map overnight.
Hell yeah.
I would be okay with that.
Strucker's not particularly moved. He's a Nazi through and through, and he believes that his Nazi ideals would live on, even if Magnus made sticky red goo of all the actual Nazis.
If only.
And he follows through with more sick trash talk. All things are possible, Nazi. Hate is more popular than love, fear more prevalent than trust. If humanity wishes to follow you to its damnation, so be it. I care nothing for you or them, and when Homo sapiens are no more, Homo superior will claim their rightful place as lords of the earth. A pity you will not be there to see it. He then blasts a hole all the way to the surface, shooping Charles and Gabby up it like the money at the bank, before slurping all the gold up after them. You know, like the money at the bank.
You know.
Strucker vows to go after him, but Mags doesn't give a rat's ass, just letting the cave collapse after him as he leaves.
Oh, yeah.
And no one ever saw Baron von Strucker again.
Yes.
Never again.
He never showed up ever again. He definitely didn't fight Captain America.
No.
Up on the surface, Gabrielle is still out of it, though Charles has hope. But he wants to know what Mags plans to do with all that gold. Use it to fund his war on humanity, whenever the fuck it turns to that. Ta-ta for now, Charles!
Oh, that explains where Magneto got all his money.
Yeah, he's literally using Nazi gold to fund his war
Fantastic.
against humanity.
I love that.
That is wild.
I love that for him.
Yeah, honestly.
And he swoops off into the sky with his comically large stack of gold bricks.
Yeah.
Charles is calling after him when Gabrielle begins to come out of it, and she explains that she felt herself hiding behind her walls again, but when she heard Chuck's voice, she knew she wasn't alone. She was risking her safety, but it was better than the living death of her catatonia, because life is beautiful. And just like that, Charles awakens in his bed, surrounded by those he loves, crediting it all to his boo for her voice reaching through to him.
Huh.
With that done, there's mostly just the matter of saying goodbye to Lilandra. But after all that drama, this isn't going to be just your average goodbye. No, the Empress is going to throw a rager.
Of course.
Unfortunately, Illyana is still too baby to go, and Xavier is still too weak. But the rest of the X-Men, along with Carol, will be joining Lilandra up on her space yacht. And they're going to be getting dressed up in Shi'ar finery to eat, drink, and be merry.
I'm sorry. How come Kitty gets to go if Illyana doesn't?
I think she's still kind of out of it, you know?
Okay. Fair enough.
Unfortunately, the Starjammers will not be joining them. They might be cool with Lilandra, but the Shi'ar themselves, no bueno.
Ooh.
Lilandra is right in the middle of giving a toast to the X-Men when she suddenly goes funnily blank. The X-Men make to send for help when suddenly Deathbird, proclaiming herself the new Empress. Again!
Uh-huh.
They attack her, but almost immediately a hidden stasis bomb goes off underneath the table, knocking them all out. And that's the story of how Deathbird satisfied her obligation to the Brood.
Woohoo!
How'd y'all like that?
4.
Yeah, 4. I did not know that they really are two old liberals fighting each other.
Yeah, I'd give that a 4. What do you think CMRO thought?
4.
3.5?
Right in between you, 3.83.
Okay.
Next up is Uncanny X-Men 162 from July of 1982, written by Chris Claremont, penciled by Dave Cockrum, inked by Bob Wysek, colored by Glynis Ween, and lettered by Tom Orzechowski, with a cover by Dave Cockrum and Bob Wysek.
Sure is a cover, too.
No, go back, please.
I like it.
The composition is fine. You know what's bothering me is the amount of detail on everything except Wolverine's shorts.
The gaping void.
Like, it's so incongruous with everything else. And it's where your eye naturally goes because it's different.
The gaping void.
It's bad and it looks terrible. Anyway.
Black hole where his dick is. Wolverine is dying on the run on some alien planet. He's seized by staggering pain to the extent that he never sees the monster that attacks him coming. It hits him in the face with some kind of gas. What kind? Unclear. Could be anything, really. Gives him a squeeze, but all that does is hurt its tentacles, because Logan is kind of hard to squeeze.
Yeah, he's made of knives.
He finally slices and dices the thing, but that's when the gas's effects take hold, and he hallucinates that he's back in Japan, riding horses with his waifu Mariko.
God.
Oh, no.
Subconscious Mariko refuses to acknowledge that they're a mismatched pair, instead claiming he is, quote, an honorable man, with the soul and inner grace of a true samurai.
Of course she would say that.
Mind you, again, all this is in Logan's head.
Yes.
Yeah.
He leans over to kiss her when suddenly he sees eagles flying towards them in the sky, suspiciously large and only growing larger. He barks for her to head for the tree line, but it's too late, as a moment later the eagles are revealed to be Brood, and they light Mariko up with their guns, shooting her down. It's a nightmare for Logan, but an all-too-real one closes in, and he ducks and dodges into the alien underbrush, fleeing his pursuers. Still, at least one remains close behind, a little too close for comfort, even for a killer like itself, within stabbing range.
Yeah.
Oh, it's, this one has wings, it's a drone.
Huh.
That was a joke. I don't know that much about brood taxonomy.
Yes, now we're going to get into the details of brood taxonomy.
No.
It's going to be very exciting, I promise.
You know stuff I don't, then.
No, I don't.
Neither, no.
I'm bullshitting.
I was making a joke about, like, ants.
And I'm just pulling it out of my ass completely.
Did you know that all the ants with wings are female? To the extent that you could say ants are female. Anyway.
The Brood, or sleazoids as Logan likes to call them,
Yep.
are natural-born killers with built-in armor, teeth made for chomping, and stingers that just won't quit because they're full of venom.
Okay.
Stingers that go all the way up.
Stingers that go all night.
He's given his best when the sleazoid calls for help, bringing his fellows back into the fight. He's still giving his all until suddenly the ground beneath him gives way and the X-Man goes tumbling downward. Even worse, the Brood clips him with a stun bolt on the way down, so he can't even catch himself, despite his best efforts. Instead, he just plunges down from a height he's not even sure his healing factor can tackle. When he comes to, Logan's caught in a massive spider web.
Oh, boy.
The jungle revealed to be the decaying ruins of one of the Brood's massive clan ships.
Oh, shit. This is very cool looking.
And that must be massive.
Yep. Well, it's massive enough to host its own ecosystem.
I mean, look at the fucking thing pointing out where he is.
Ah! That tiny little bit.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
There's like a panel-in-panel picture there.
I hadn't even noticed that.
Uh-huh.
Up above, the hunting party debate what to do about Logan. The baby of the bunch notes the Brood Queen incubating inside the X-Man, but the rest of the hunting party have already written the mutant off for dead. At least partially because, prompted by the stirrings of the web, predators have begun to rouse, closing in on Wolvie. That's when he's clenched with another pain so searing it throws him into flashback onto Lalandro's yacht, the Zri Shar.
Her space yacht.
So we're actually going to find out what happened. Okay.
After the explosion of the stasis bomb is where things start to get weird for him. Reality seems to fade in and out. One moment the X-Men stand battered and tattered, surrounded by the Brood. The next things are back to normal, milling about the party, eating hors d'oeuvres and making small talk. He's right in the middle of trying to explain his bad vibes to Carol when two of the Shi'ar cut in to speak with her. They picked up that she's different from her cohorts and would like to run some tests. I guess this lab rat either really wants the cheese or they're under some psychic agreeability thing the brood are doing because Care Bear is immediately on board. She doesn't protest, nor do any of the others when two of the brood fly off with the once hero.
Ooh.
Only Logan cries out, growing more and more freaked by the moment. One by one, they're all called before Lilandra and a strange, tall, winged woman, each of them to be presented with an award for their service to the Empire.
Oh, no.
One at a time they come forth. Scott, Aurora, Kurt, Piotr. Everything seems to be going smoothly until they get to Kitty. When Kit Kat approaches the dais, she suddenly begins to struggle, trying to phase free of the grip of the woman, trying to call to help, all to no avail. She receives her award just like the rest. Logan is stuck fast, unable to move until it's over, and it is finally his turn to step forth. He too tries to fight, tries to draw his claws, tries to do anything. In the end, he does nothing, as the Brood Queen draws back its proboscis and drives it painfully home into the X-Man's flesh, leaving him screaming. The scream in his memories makes him scream IRL, and it's enough to get him fighting mad. These guys wanted a meal, they better hope they ordered an adamantium sandwich because the order is up.
Wow.
Spicy.
Shish kebab.
He puts on his bear shirt, which is the same as any other shirt he fucking wears.
That's the only shirt he has.
And he gets to work. And he's going on about how he's glad the X-Men aren't here to see him right now because he's the best at what he does, but what he does best isn't very nice.
Okay, but these are like creepy monsters, so I think they would be okay with it.
Right?
I hope.
Did they get mad every time you squish a spider? I don't think so. Well, Aurora probably would.
You know what?
The rest of them probably call him in the room to kill all the spiders.
Yeah, of course. And Aurora's like, you could have put it outside.
It was a spider. It needed to die.
I don't know. Scott was pretty mad about those spiders. Maybe Scott calls Aurora over to put it in a cup and take it outside.
I like the idea of Colossus calling Logan in to kill a spider.
Mm. Colossus, scared.
Standing on a chair. There was a spider and I don't know where it went. Fucking 7 foot tall, gigantic Russian.
He's in metal
fake
form
meat
because he's
popsicle.
that scared.
God, I love that. What an image. He kills enough of the monsters that they just start eating their own dead, and that buys him the distraction he needs to climb out of the web and onto a nearby ledge where he collapses in intense pain just waiting for death to take him. The pain started the night before. That's when he woke up in not Lilandra's ship. His mind may have wanted him to think he was still safe in the lap of luxury on the Zri Shar, but his senses knew that he wasn't. Panicked, he found his way to Storm's room to try and rouse her into fighting back with him, but with whatever perception alteration the Brood have the X-Men under, she didn't believe him, so he gave her the old nerve pinch to knock her back out so she didn't give him away. He's on his way to sort out what's really going on when he makes one last stop in Kitty's room. Part of him wants to bring the girl along, but surprisingly there's a responsible adult somewhere in there.
Aww.
And after an anxious vision of her death by his claws, he opts instead to just give the girl a kiss on the cheek.
Aww.
And a promise to sort all this out.
You better.
He then scoots on his way, creeping through the shadows of the palace until he finds a gathering of the Brood watching Fang of the Imperial Guard. He's one of the traitors responsible for betraying Lilandra, so Logan's down to watch him get his just desserts.
Oh, boy.
Right up until he starts screaming. Fang's body then begins to smoke sick clouds.
Ugh.
Sick clouds, bro.
I mean, that's not
Fucking puffin' cotton.
That is not a healthy way to vape, my guy.
He collapses to his hands and knees, begging to know why they do this to an ally. But Fang was a fool to think the Brood saw him as anything more than first a tool and later an incubator for a brood egg.
No shit. That's literally all the Brood want.
Before Logan's eyes, Fang writhes in pain, his body morphing as the broodling transforms him from the inside out, absorbing everything that was Fang, and coming out the other side entirely changed, save markings that look just like his facial hair.
Wow.
That's goofy. John, for context, the Brood are basically the Chimera ants.
A deep anime cut.
It's not that deep.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, but you don't watch anime.
That's true.
Hunter x Hunter is very popular.
It is. For something that rarely ever gets chapters.
Wow, there's a reason.
There are. For our weird anime viewers.
Yeah, for the weebs in the audience.
From his hiding place, Logan cries out, realizing just what this means. His brood is going to have 6 sideburns. The Brood, hearing his outburst, give chase, bringing us back to the present moment. Slightly less winded, or at least no longer lost in memory, Logan sits up, not quite ready to give up on living yet. When he hears the noise of flitting wings, he peers around, recognizing the youngest broodling as the Imperial Guardsman formerly known as Fang. He's a newbie, so Logie thinks he can take him. He takes a flying leap, launching himself at the Brood in midair. It works brilliantly, sticking the landing and taking out the Brood's stingers in one smooth move.
Ooh.
Nice.
With a good hold on the sleazoid now, he brings his claws to its throat, promising to do the deed if it doesn't give him a lift, which the Brood does indeed do. That's when another attack seizes Wolvie. The Fang Brood takes full advantage of it, flipping Logan around to land in the midst of the hunting cadre. Despite the pain, Logan does what he does best. He moves! Moves those claws, that is!
Oh my
Ooh.
god. This is like 5 different fetishes.
Yeah. So I take it that white is probably supposed to be blood?
Unclear.
Yeah, I think that's
those-
where we're going with that.
Those look like cuts?
They do look like cuts.
I don't know why they're white, though.
Great question.
Not gonna ask Mr. Claremont.
No, I think that's just a weird coloring issue, or a comics code issue, or something.
You know, it could be.
I don't know what happened there. Something happened there.
Fetishes.
I'm not gonna blame it on fetishes.
I will.
Okay, maybe it's brood venom.
Sure, it's brood venom. That's what that is.
That's what the kids call it these days.
When the smoke or viscera clears, Wolverine is the last one standing, but it might be a moot point. He's seized by yet another attack, the worst one yet, as his flesh begins to sizzle and smoke. The metamorphosis has begun. And yet somehow he finds it in him to reach deep inside, fighting the Brood, concentrating on his very skeleton as he just screams.
So he sort of screamed his way out of this?
Yeah.
Come sunrise,
Oh.
Wolverine is the survivor of their showdown. His immune system managed to kill the brood egg inside of him, like it would any other invader. The problem being that's not going to save his friends. They're all still infected, and if he can't cure them, then he'll kill them all. It didn't save him one hell of a skin condition, though.
Yeah, my guy, you are now kind of reptilian.
It reminds me of those commercials. You remember those commercials with the, I forget what brand it was for, the lotion with the lizard.
Oh, I don't remember that at all. Dang.
There's a giant lizard walking by overhead.
What the heck? I'm sorry.
I feel like I know what that is, but I'm not 100% positive. It just reminds me of how I say that I have lizard skin.
Anyways, how'd y'all like that?
Fine. I liked it.
Yeah, that was...
It was, like, really tense.
Yeah.
Very well paced.
I know of the Brood. I have encountered them, but...
We don't get single perspective issues from Mr. Claremont very often.
Yeah. 5.
Yeah.
This is a knockout.
Alright, I'll go with 5, sure. How do you think CMRO liked that?
As close to a 5 as you can get. People fucking love Wolverine.
I mean, they do.
For something.
It's gotta be a 4 something.
It's a 4.04.
Oh, kind of low, actually.
I mean, that's not that low.
It's a low 4.
It's a lower 4. Next up is Uncanny X-Men 163 from August of 1982, written by Chris Claremont, penciled by Dave Cockrum, inked by Bob Wysack, colored by Bob Sharon, lettered by Joe Rosen, with a cover by Dave Cockrum and Bob Wysack.
There is something weird going on with Kitty's arm.
Oh! Yeah.
The foreshortening there does not quite add up.
Not quite, no. Something's a little wiggy there.
Yeah.
I was too distracted by the uncomfortableness with this brood to notice the arm.
The brood isn't making me uncomfortable. Kitty's pose is making me uncomfortable.
We now know what's white that comes from a brood.
Oh, their spit?
Their spit.
I guess that's...
better than the alternatives.
Yeah.
It is, actually.
Carol Danvers screams, but no amount of screaming will free her from the brood's examination tables as they continue to study her genetic matrix, finding her abnormal from your bog-standard everyday Humie.
Uh-huh.
They tweak her body, changing its form as they please.
Yikes.
But no matter what torments they concoct, Carol holds out, refusing to give in against her torturers. One of the techs is charged with finding refreshments.
Wow.
The gopher, the intern.
They have interns.
The brood intern.
Life as a brood intern.
Little does he know, Logan just found his way to one of his friends, and Zelos here just signed up to be his ticket inside.
Ooh.
He's in the middle of grabbing drinks when suddenly the lights go out. The sleazoid has no opportunity to react before Logan's on him. Before any of the others know what's up, he chucks Zelos in through the door, following through himself, ready to give the rest of them the little slice and dice treatment too.
Death as a brood intern.
Fantastic.
He's just waiting for the first word. As soon as it comes, Mr. Slapchop dives into the action. Everything in him has him perfectly geared up for scraps like this. The brood may be killers, but with all his abilities and training, between his life as an X-Man and his past as a Canadian Secret Service agent and a commando, Logan wipes the floor with them.
Well, he's the best.
At what he does.
Moving. Once he's finished, it's just he and Carol, still strapped onto the examination table. It's not the first time he's saved her. Years back, he rescued the woman from the KGB. The big problem right now is he's not sure how to undo what the brood have done to her. After a long moment spent trying to make sense of the controls, Logan gives up and decides violence is the answer.
This is like in Baldur's Gate 3, if you play a barbarian. You get to this point where you have to rescue a teammate from inside a pod, but if you play a barbarian, you can just pull it open.
It's fine, actually.
Yeah, it's fine.
He hacks and slashes the thing until it finally releases Carol, luckily enough looking human again.
Ooh, good. But naked.
Looking being the key word.
Oh.
Oh. Ooh.
Something is not kosher with Carol.
Space eyes.
She smells wrong, and her eyes are full of stars, and she keeps talking about how she's burning.
Cool. That seems good.
But all Logan can do is get her clothes to wrap up in. She's actually feeling great, all things considered.
She gets a robe and I'm sorry. I'm gonna go on a tangent that nobody cares about. She gets a robe and she actually girds her loins.
She does do that, doesn't she?
She does do that. It's very important, though, if you're going into battle. You have to gird your loins.
I don't think robes are
Wonder if she picked that up in the military.
Yes, obviously in the Air Force, girding your loins is very important when you get in the big metal plane.
Well, she's actually feeling pretty great, all things considered, so she puts the fear aside, grabs a brood blaster, and the pair head off into the ship together. Back on Earth, work is underway reconstructing the mansion.
Ooh.
Wow, this is going to be pricey.
I'm guessing that's a priority again after the Ileana incident.
You know what? Being on an Eldritch Island is probably not the best thing if a child loses like a decade of her life.
In a flash of light, Alex and Chris Summers appear amidst the chaos, bearing the bad news about Lilandra and the X-Men. Lex is so riled about it, he blasts a nearby pile of construction materials to vent.
That's not helping.
No.
That's not free, my guy.
On edge, Corsair immediately draws his weapons as soon as he hears the blasts, relaxing only once Alex explains himself.
I like that Corsair's guns come out of his gloves.
Isn't that cool?
I do think that's very cool, actually.
Okay, yeah, that's... Took a second to understand exactly what that was.
I noticed it before, I just didn't mention it in previous issues.
I didn't understand what it was in previous issues, but now that they explicitly explain it, of course I do.
I mean, his guns are still dumb, but
I think a lot of people didn't understand what was up with his guns.
Yeah. Well, you know, in comic books, sometimes it's hard to portray, like, transformations and shit.
Yeah.
It was quite the production for Moira, who wants to know his plans. He's gonna go up there and rescue his boy, obviously, he and the Starjammers. He refuses to take Alex because he doesn't want him to start down the path of killing. Unlike with the Sidri, that was different. That was his oldest.
Oh, no.
He wanted to say farewell to Chuck before he went, maybe thank him for taking care of his boy when he fucking wasn't.
Right.
Phew.
But Chuck's curled up in bed somewhere depressed, so Corsair sets off on his way to hopefully rescue the X-Men.
Wait, Chuck didn't get captured?
No, Chuck was...
No, he was not at the party.
No, Chuck wasn't at the party, and Ilyana wasn't at the party.
Okay, I missed that. He was on bed rest, I guess.
Yep.
Okay.
It's kind of odd that she threw a party and he didn't go, but...
Meh.
He was still too ill.
Mm-hmm.
Even if the party was sort of for him...
What
it was about
It was
him.
also in honor of the X-Men for rescuing
True.
Lilandra.
Yeah, they did kind of rescue the Empress.
Scott Summers flees a brood hunting party of his own. They're hot on his tail and he can't take them down in any meaningful way. Every time he gets one, another one pops up to replace it. On top of that, he's picking up on how off things feel, though he can't make any sense of it. All he knows is that he's in trouble and would very much like some backup right now. Suddenly, he hears the X-Men call his name, and as soon as he has the opportunity, he whirls in their direction. Instead of his friends, though, he sees the Brood wearing their costumes.
That's weird.
That's a look.
There to welcome him into the fold. He cries out in horror, understanding as he's faced with a mirror and the Brood within it. As the X-Brood close in to tear at his flesh, they explain what's been done to him, and Scott can't resist, feeling himself surely going mad. That's when he feels a comforting anchor, Professor Xavier. He begs for help, and the image of Xavier reminds him that he already knows what to do. Xavier taught him how to resist mindfuckery years ago, back when he came to the school. And so he focuses hard to defeat the psionic attacks, separating the real from the fake, only to discover that it's all fake. And finally he wakes, confused and disoriented.
Sure is a torn shirt look.
Yeah.
Well, remember Wolverine was looking pretty tattered and torn, too. Looking around, he continues to realize something is wrong. This doesn't look like the professor's descriptions of the Shi'ar throne world. He then comes upon Storm, crouched in some kind of trance.
And looking hot as fuck.
Somehow always managing to have the best fit.
Right. Storm doesn't look tattered and torn, of course.
Like, her skirt is a little bit torn, but it's still mostly intact.
Yeah. Oh, I guess it is a little bit torn.
No, we're going to objectify the boys this issue.
I mean, they always do.
Generally.
Chris Claremont is equal opportunity, okay?
He doesn't want to bother her initially, while he continues to ponder their conundrum. His clothes are a wreck, when seemingly they were just being honored, so what gives? Then all of a sudden, an energy field seems to form up around Aurora, shaped like one of the Brood. It eventually fades with a crack of lightning, but the image is enough to leave Scott extremely shaken. When he moves to wake Storm, he finds the woman crying, and she buries her head in his chest. Not that he has much comfort to offer. Down beneath the calm surface, Summers is despondent. Despite that, they have to keep moving, keep trying. Luckily, they've got two less to find, because just then Logan and Carol emerge from a nearby hallway with a plan. Lilandra's ship is parked on top of one of the ribs of this carcass. They're going to steal it and get gone. And Logan continues to bury the lead deeper than those brood eggs in their fucking chests.
Mm-hmm.
In no time, they reunite and then split the gang in two again, splitting off on 2 missions. Storm, Kitty, and Nightcrawler will steal the yacht while the rest of the team rescue Lil. Not that it's going to be easy, particularly given that half their number think they're fighting friendlies and are having to fight their instincts to pull their punches, because the Shi'ar are always so very friendly. Scott tries to keep Petey Boy's head in the game despite that, but while Logan sends his work on tracking the Empress, his thoughts dwell on the eggs growing to maturity inside of his friends' bodies. Finally, they come to a big nose-ass looking fork in the road. Down the left nostril lies Lalandra, and down the right, the great mother of the brood who, knowing what he knows, Logan wants McFucking dead. That's out of the question for Cyclops. The X-Men don't execute their enemies.
Today, one of them does.
But the discussion is tabled with the arrival of the brood, looking to take their prospective broodlings alive. It definitely helps the X-Men into the fight, keeping the brood's advantage of sheer numbers at bay.
I don't know, Scott. I feel like you could make an exception in this case.
Yeah. Still, Psyche can tell something's up by those orders, though just what is going to have to wait. While the X-Men fight, Carol ducks off down the left nostril to Lil's rescue. Back with the bunch, though, for once the handbrake isn't fucking holding. Despite Cyclops' continued orders to leave Mama Brood alone, Logan is bound and determined, leaving his friends little choice but to follow in his wake of dissolved brood.
Let the man go.
As Wolvie closes in to finish off Mother Brood, finally Colossus's vision begins to clear. Good timing, too. Backup is closing in fast. But the X-Men have backup, too. Enter Stage Nostril. Carol and Lalandra snort onto the scene, guns blazing. Care Bear is also on team. Can we just fucking go already? But Logan won't have it. In his eyes, the Queen has killed his friends, whether they know it or not. He's gonna get even for it. He, in fact, threatens to make Scott carry him because that's the only way he's leaving. It's a decent threat. That guy goes dead weight, it's game over.
I mean,
Well,
yeah.
unless you're Aurora, and then...
Aurora can do it, but she's not here right now.
She's on the other team. Maybe Starry Eyes Carol can do it.
I mean, we know Colossus can.
Right, we have Petey Boy. That's true, we have Petey Boy.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the other team travels through the skies, barrel of monkeys style, towards Lalandra's yacht. Storm flies high as she can, but her powers are acting up, out of balance, so she passes the baton off to Nightcrawler, who bamfs away with Kit Kat, just in the nick of time to avoid the white-hot strafing fire of a brood patrol ship. Even with a reduced control over the weather, Storm dives lower into the atmosphere, hoping to hide from it there. She's not the only one having trouble with her powers. Kurt barely managed to rematerialize. Still, he did manage, and now clings to the freezing hull of the Zrishar, waiting for Kitty to find him the airlock before he perishes. The youngster phases through the skin of the ship with ease. Since Kurt can't see what's on the other side, he's trapped on the outside until she finds him a way in. She's just tracked down the airlock and is ready to open it when one of the brood attacks, yet again looking to capture Kitty alive. She dives out of the way of an attack by one of the brood's stingers, diving into the airlock.
I'm just amazed by the decision that I've never seen anywhere else to give the brood identifying markings. Because I thought the point of the brood is that they're a hive mind.
I think if you're going to make it so they're absorbing powers.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Maybe they become a hive mind later?
I don't know. But if they're taking powers from their hosts, I guess that makes more sense. I don't know, it's just something I never saw before. I'm not saying it's bad or wrong.
I don't know enough about the brood to know what happens.
We'll see.
She dives out of the way of an attack by one of the brood stingers, diving into the airlock. The brood thinks her trapped, not knowing everything is going according to Keikaku. She scrambles for the controls. The brood may be a problem, but it's a problem for future Kitty. Right now, she's just got to get Kurt inside the ship before he either freezes or suffocates to death with how thin the air is outside. Unfortunately, the controls are too slow. The brood flies through the hatch just before it closes, trapping itself in the small airlock with the girl. Kitty's got a plan, but can't bring herself to execute it. She could cycle the airlock, venting the brood into the atmosphere. Kit's convinced it's going to instantly die, but remember, Kurt's alive out there. Chill, he's got wings. Anyway, the brood calls her bluff. She's got a new plan, though at the back of her mind, Kit Kat remains ever conscious of Kurt's life ticking away. She's going to phase back out into the hallway to draw the brood out, then back into the airlock. But as she phases through him, the alarmed brood flails one of his limbs, catching the release latch on the airlock, and it opens, very conveniently venting the airlock to atmosphere. How amazing. She's free of the guilt, and yet...
She got what she wanted.
Amazing.
Incredible.
Kitty manages to grab onto a handhold, gripping on for dear life until the initial gust of air releases, and then she rushes off to drag an unconscious and ice-cold Kurt Wagner back in through the lock, praying that he's still alive. Back down below, the X-Men still battle the brood. The Wolverine's just about got his mitts on Mama Brood, as in just about got his mitts in Mama Brood. He's got his hand in her mouth and everything, just ready to extend his claws again, despite Psyche's protests, when the Zrishar's transporter beam catches them.
Damn it.
Whisking them away aboard her decks as she rips away from the clan ship's ribs.
What about Storm?
I guess it must have grabbed her too.
I guess.
The ship blasts away from the world as fast as her engines will take her, as the bunch discuss their next move. But all Wolverine wants to talk about is how they wouldn't help him kill the Queen. Kitty doesn't get why he's so riled about the damn Queen. And a devastated Wolverine is about to explain when suddenly the brood opened fire.
Huh.
How'd y'all like that?
I don't think it was quite as good as the last one.
Yeah, not quite.
It was good.
I mean, 4.5.
At least a 4.
Yeah.
I think I'm at a 4, yeah. What do you think CMRO thought?
3.8?
4.
You are so close, John. 3.88.
Holy shit.
Anyway, that's it for us this time. I think we did pretty good at 2.5.
Yeah, it'll cut down. Probably not a lot, but some.
Nah, I think 2.5's respectable.
Yeah, we've been averaging about 2.5 lately, which is like, it's fine. As so long as we're not paying for hosting, whatever.
Right.
That is true.
I'm not all that bothered by it.
Thank you, Google, for providing so much hosting on YouTube.
For free.
Anyway, that's going to be it for us this time. We look forward to talking to you next time. Bye.
Bye.